Good morning to you all. Welcome back to a new week here in the Namaste experience. So happy that we can be together so we can discuss that which has true value. That's our subject today. The valuable versus the valuelessness. That which has total value, which is really the only thing that does have value. There's either total value or no value. And we're going to focus on what can bring us total value, but what has also brought us no value except the illusion of value. So I want to begin by telling you a quick story about something that happened to me yesterday. So as you know, I'm here in Ashland, Oregon, getting settled in my new place, meeting with old friends, and just having a wonderful time. And yesterday, Sunday, I decided to go to Mass at the local Catholic church. It's a church that I've been to many times before over the years. And I thought I would go there and explore. It was really about me being in an environment that historically I have felt very comfortable in, enjoyed, and still do find value. And I went, it was a packed church, which was lovely. And over the weekend, I'm sure of those of you in Mexico, you remember we had a lot of focus on Mary. Vicky mentioned this last week as well. We celebrated the Immaculate Conception. We also celebrated the Feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe. The Immaculate Conception, just so you know, people often think that that refers to the conception of Jesus. But from the Church's teaching, it actually represents the conception of Mary, that Mary was conceived without sin in order to bring the Christ through, to extend the Christ consciousness through this boy, this child, into the world. And yet when you think about it, the Immaculate Conception is really for each and every one of us. That each one of us has been conceived without sin. Each one of us was born extending out through grace and love and divine harmony. And that's what it means to be immaculately conceived in every moment. This is happening every moment, not just when a sperm cell and an egg came together and conception took place for the body, but the Immaculate Conception that happens every single moment with the soul, with the reality that I am, that each one of us is together. So anyway, I went to the Mass yesterday morning, and as I said, it was packed. It was good energy. I was enjoying that. And I don't know the priest who is there at the church, but he seemed okay. There is a part of me that, because I have worked this ministry myself, and one of the things that I love the most is this, being able to share. And sometimes at church is to give a homily. and this particular day, this priest got up and began giving his homily. And it went on and on. And I realized as I was listening that he wasn't really saying anything. He was just all over the place. He was talking about this, talking about that, talking about something else. I was thinking that if at the end of the service, if he were to ask any of the parishioners what the sermon was about, I don't think any of them could have told him, because it was just lots of disjoined ideas. And I sat with that for a while. And in doing so, I realized that it didn't have any value for me. And I could make a choice within that. I could choose to stay and just be there for part of the rest of the Mass, or without any judgment whatsoever, I could stand up and leave. And that's what I did. I stood up when I didn't stand up, and so people noticed it. Waited for the whole congregation to stand, and then I just quietly walked out. And in doing so, I realized something within me. I was choosing that which has true value. And the only thing that has true value is that which lifts us into the actual experience of our reality, of our true selves. What I was experiencing as he talked about Adam and Eve, for example, talking about Adam and Eve and what they might have been thinking or doing, which I didn't really understand, talking about Adam and Eve in a literal sense, they didn't have any value for me. And I made a choice to choose that which does have value. And I could have left the church thinking, this is ridiculous, this doesn't have any value, and I'm just going to leave. Or I could do what I actually did, which is to stand up and to choose that which has true value. And in doing so, feel the upliftment, feel the energy lifting me. I went back here to my house and I sat down with the Course in Miracles, and I did some reading and just did some personal worship, and it was beautiful. True value. So I found myself thinking about that a lot yesterday, and therefore I wrote something that I thought might be helpful for all of us. I had this particular idea that I want to share with you. So here we go. Let me share this. Imagine that you are the only living human being left in the whole world. You're completely on your own. But you've learned how to exist beautifully within your aloneness. You decide one day to visit the Louvre Museum in Paris. Because there's no one left to enjoy the Mona Lisa, you decide to take it off the wall and bring it home. You remove it and you bring it to your home and you hang it up on the wall in your own house. And as you look at the painting, at the Mona Lisa, there on your own wall, you wonder about its value. Is it still the priceless work of art? Or was that only true when there was agreement regarding the value that was shared by the majority of the people throughout the world? Now that there's no one left in the world but you, what is the Mona Lisa's value? It's an interesting question. So in that moment, standing alone before the Mona Lisa, now resting quietly on your own wall, the question of value collapses in on itself. What once shimmered with significance did so only because of a vast web of perception, shared perception, by historians, critics, curators, tourists, markets, insurance policies, consensus. It is the consensus that gave it value. The painting was never priceless in itself. It was rendered priceless by collective agreement. When the perceiving many disappear, the meaning they projected dissolves with it. Once again, when all the different people and their judgments and ideas disappears, the meaning that they projected also dissolves. That's interesting. The canvas remains pigment and cloth. Nothing has been added and nothing essential has been taken away. What has vanished, and here's the key, what has vanished is the story. I'm wondering how many of you have ever been to the Louvre and seen the Mona Lisa. I've seen it a couple of times. It's actually smaller than one might think. That was my first thought, and many people think that. It's, you expect it to be this grand, huge painting of this beautiful woman smiling, but it's not. It's actually a very small painting, and it's behind glass because it's so valuable. And everyone stands around, a huge crowd all day long stands around looking at this one painting, this masterpiece that we've all decided is the example of what true value is. And it is beautiful, there's no question about it. But when the massive agreement is removed from it and it's just a painting on the wall, where has the value gone? Has it disappeared? Or was it ever really there? I think that's the question. Has the value disappeared, or was it ever really there? Was it anywhere except in our collective consciousness? We decided together that the Mona Lisa is the most priceless painting in the whole world, until there's no one there to think that. And then I, if I'm the only person left on earth, can just go there, pick it up, and take it and put it in my kitchen if I want. It hasn't gained anything, it hasn't lost anything. But you, each one of you, are what is truly valuable. When we look within and receive within that which is forever received by the divine, love that which is forever loved by God. That's what has true value. Let me read a bit more. From the perspective of valuelessness of the perceptual world, this has always been the case. Even when the world is full, value does not belong to objects. It is assigned to them by minds seeking continuity, identity, and reassurance. That's the key. A mind seeking reassurance about their own value, but of course it's flipped around, because the value that the ego is trying to be assured in is its own, here we go, I'm going to use the word, specialness. The value of my specialness. We give value to the Mona Lisa because we think it's so special. Yes, it's a beautiful painting, but when you really think about it, is it any more beautiful than hundreds of other paintings that are in the Louvre or any other museum? No, it's a decision that we made collectively, just as we're making a decision right now about each one of us, that what has true value, that which lifts us into a true experience of who we are now and forever. Now, of course, we can look at that from the perspective of the ego, specialness, or we can choose to give that away, to see that in each other, to look at every person that we come in contact with, and maybe look at them the way we might look at the Mona Lisa on the wall at the Louvre. Wouldn't that be something? To look at every person that we come in contact with and see the same, and here's the key, to see the same value that God sees. To see the same value that God perceives every moment. What a trick that would be. All right, let me read a bit more. We say that something matters because we want our experience to matter. We say something is rare or sacred because we fear our own impermanence. When there is no one left to compare, no one left to praise, to auction or remember, then the entire economy of meaning evaporates. The entire economy of meaning. The painting does not grieve this loss, of course not. It is utterly unconcerned. Nothing changes in the Mona Lisa if we remove value. The Mona Lisa actually was, you may know this, it actually was stolen. I think it was in the 1800s. It was stolen by someone who worked there at the Louvre, and he hid it in his closet. And it was hidden in his closet for years. No one could see it, not even the man who stole it. He was so afraid to take it out, he just kept it in the dark. Did it lose value? Or did it never have value? Well, yes and no. It never really had value except for the perception of the people who were looking at it, deciding together that this is beautiful. Different than, special, more special than any other painting. And here it is in the closet of a man's house until he finally decided to give it back. Now, thank God, we can put it back on the wall and everyone can look at its beauty and its value. What a gift. But was it? Why don't we continue once again to look at each other in the same way, to give each other that gift, to see each other as God sees us? All right, a bit more. All right, let me back up. Without an audience, without a market, without even a future observer, you're no longer relating to the Mona Lisa as an object of value, but as a simple appearance arising in awareness. That's beautiful. A simple appearance arising in awareness. There's no hierarchy now, no difference between masterpiece and stone, between museum or the kitchen wall. There's no difference. The perceptual world has been stripped of its label, and what remains is pure seeing, to see that which is true, to see as God sees. The painting is neither priceless nor worthless. It simply is. And in the same way, so are you. This reveals the quiet truth the perceptual world continuously hides, that value is not intrinsic anywhere, not in art, not in achievement, not even in the self-image that we work so hard to preserve, who we think we are. Value, this is interesting, is a shared hallucination. Useful for navigation, but meaningless for truth. We have to remove all value. This is why, in A Course in Miracles, it says, the world I see holds nothing that I want. But it also says, beyond this world, there is a world that I want. When perception is no longer propped up by agreement, reality returns to its natural neutrality. Nothing needs to matter in order to be fully present. Once again, nothing needs to matter to be fully present. Nothing needs to be special in order to be whole. You're not special. You want to believe you are, but the truth is, the only thing that is special is that which sees everything in the same way, as holy, as whole, as perfect. That's the only thing that is special, and you can see that anywhere and everywhere, every moment, if you make the choice to do so. And that's what brings us to true value. In that silent room, with no one left to agree or disagree, the Mona Lisa teaches its final lesson. Here it is. Not through beauty, but through emptiness. And in recognizing that in that emptiness, we are free. We're free within the emptiness of that which has true and total value. Value is only true if it's total. And you have total value because you are one with God. You are one in love, together forever, whole and holy. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn to our dear Queen Victoria and let her take it from there. Good morning, Vicki.
Good morning, Brother James. Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Okay, Jimmy, I'm going to give you a run for your money on this one. So, Judy read a beautiful passage this morning on where we get value and where in time, of course, we get value not from our perceptions and our judgments, but in giving of the light that we are, like you say, recognizing everyone and everything as that light. So here's another option for Mass yesterday. When the priest is floundering around, and this is the other option that is miracle workers, in my heart, I just feel this is the setup because I was brought here to answer a call for help. Every call for help is my own call to boot because I'm the one seeing it. So I see a brother floundering. I see, oh, a call for help. And before anything, what I my nature, because we are love and we are light, it's to help my brother and to see him correctly. I see him going all over the board because he's not centered in the light that he is. So I want to give him that gift. So I would say before I left any mass church or anybody, don't lose the opportunity to give the gift of life, the gift of resurrection in every moment. It doesn't have to be recognized by my brother because because we are one, we share one mind. And in my seeing only the light in my floundering brother, who might be sleepy for the moment, I receive the gift of life. And then the whole energy of who and what we all are is raised because love got expanded and extended and given. And when it's given, we know it's received. Now, the other thing is, the Mona Lisa. Now, the Mona Lisa, I haven't seen it personally, but I wonder if you took the cloth of Guadalupe, and some of you know the story of Our Lady of Guadalupe, and it made me think of it because you celebrated in Mexico this last Friday. And it's a cloth that a young boy was asked by Mary to gather some roses with to bring to the bishop and ask for a church to be made in that location. And when he unfolded the cloth and gave the roses to the bishop or whoever he was, there was an image of Mary. And in that image of Mary, there was nobody had done this. It was from another dimension. Now I wonder if you take that cloth or you take the Mona Lisa and you commune with them, and that's, I think, what we're asked to do. It's like, look at everything as living life. Now, the cloth of Guadalupe may have I don't know, an energetic response to join in communion than the Mona Lisa. I don't know. I haven't seen either of them, but they are both expressions of giving of itself, of love and of beauty. And when we commune with something, that's where the value is, not in the particular cloth itself. So I would say don't leave anybody without answering the call for help because it's the way we bring heaven to earth here. And we can't lose anything. All we do is open and expand our own energy and raise the consciousness here in time and bring heaven on earth. So there you go, Brother James.
Well, thank you, Vicky. Of course, I knew that if Vicky and I had gone to the same service together and we were sitting there together, I know that and realized in that moment that Vicky would have made a different choice. She would have stayed and she would have done exactly what she did. And here's the thing, it didn't matter. No matter what we choose, whatever choice we make is the right choice. Choosing to leave. What I was conscious of in that moment is, why am I choosing to leave? Am I choosing to leave because of a grievance? Or am I choosing to leave because I'm going to choose a different way to be lifted? And I could have chosen, and it may have been even better, to choose to stay there and do exactly as Vicky said, offer support, light-filled support. And in that moment, I decided, no, I think I'm going to go home and read the Course. And that was a beautiful choice as well. So I guess what it really comes down to is the value is not in the choice. The value is ultimately in that which lifts the choice and that which lifts us into an experience of our own oneness with God. So choose as you may, but the key, and Vicky said this and I said this as well, is use every moment to see one another as God sees us, to give that gift, because that's where true value really lies. So, Penny Honey, if you're out there, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you wrap it up.
I am out here. A lot of people think I'm way out here, right? So, good morning. This is what comes to mind as I'm listening to that conversation. It is not I, but it is the Christ within that does the work. And there is where I find peace. On any given day, I might have made either one of those choices, to stay or to go. There's a great song, and I'm not going to break into air guitar, I promise. Should I stay or should I go? But in that, what I'm actually doing is I'm recognizing my own divine discernment as I choose to move toward that which lifts my consciousness, that which awakens in me the expression of love that I am. And sometimes that means to leave, and sometimes that means to stay for me. And we talk about that leading us back. I think that those choices are breadcrumbs to remember our own values, the things that we value. I think that those choices give us a really good guidepost as to where we're at in a given moment, and to embrace that in the love that we are. I made an interesting choice when I was packing my 10 boxes, and I pulled out this morning a piece of wood from a shake roof of a dear friend of mine. I was helping her put Christmas lights up, and that little piece of wood fell off, and we laughed because we put the Christmas lights on and we didn't figure out where the plug was at, and then we had to move them, but the significance of that piece of shake roof is this: she was loving me in a time that I didn't feel lovable. The essence, the value of that piece of wood is beyond definition. And this is where we discern from the divine consciousness that we are what has value for us, what lifts us to show up as better humans, what lifts us to remember the love that we are. I want to put my money on that. I'm going to place my bet on that. And I love that collective agreement conversation. Oof, it's really good stuff. In fact, I have a new affirmation. I see the Mona Lisa in you. I see you as a piece of precious artwork, bringing your light and your beauty to a world that deserves it and needs it. I see you. I see the Mona Lisa in you. That collective agreement. I want us to consider what it would look like on the planet were we to only see the Mona Lisa in each other. I would not want you to be put in a closet where no one could see you. I would not want you hung in a museum where only a few might see you. I would want you in the world expressing who you are, your unique divine expression. I see the Mona Lisa in you. And when I do, I remember the value that each of us brings. I see the Mona Lisa in you. Thank you.
That's so beautiful. What a beautiful wrap up, Penny. Yes, to see each and every single one of my brothers and sisters as fully valuable, wholly valuable. It's the same as seeing the Christ in each other, to see the Mona Lisa in each other, that which we have given total value to. So let's do that. Let's be about that. Let's not just have these be words that we share in the morning and then forget. Let's go out and make the choice to see the Mona Lisa in everyone that we think of or meet. And to that we say, Amen, 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 y punto. Thank you, everyone. Many blessings, and we'll see you tomorrow.